What's up, guys? I'm Josh Elliott, and today I will be reviewing the movie Chappaquiddick. So Chappaquiddick is based on the Chappaquiddick incident back in 1969, which I didn't know happened until I heard about this movie. Massachusetts Senator Ted Kennedy accidentally crashed his car into a pond on Chappaquiddick Island, and his passenger, Mary Jo Kopechne, drowned and died, and he survived and did not report the incident immediately. And there was a big issue about covering up certain details to make sure that Ted Kennedy's chances of becoming president in the future were more likely. I'm not the biggest fan of historical movies, but I always like finding out about stories like this, things that I didn't know happened, but seem so important. So I went into this movie hopeful. I heard it was getting good reviews. Gotta be honest, I was kind of disappointed. The movie is very well made. It's well directed. It kind of feels like a TV movie at times. Just because of the limited cast, it feels more low-key. But it's shot really well. The cinematography is nice. The costumes are good. Production design is good. The score is really good. It kind of sounds like suspenseful funeral music, because this whole story is revolving around the death of Mary Jo Kopechne, but there's still suspense going on because we don't know what's going to happen to Ted Kennedy. I really like that aspect of the movie, but just because a movie looks really good and is really well made does not make it a good movie. My biggest issue with this movie is that I don't think it knows what it wants its audience to feel about Ted Kennedy. Ted Kennedy did some very selfish things in this movie. He does not report the incident immediately. He wears a neck brace to Mary Jo Kopechne's funeral to get sympathy from the public so that he can maybe be president in the future. Throughout the entire movie, he is doing self-motivated actions, and some of the characters in the movie even judge him for that. Like Ed Helms' character plays one of his closest friends, Joe Gargan, and as the movie goes along, he starts to see Kennedy as he truly is. So this movie is an analysis of like political corruptness and how the government hides certain things from the public for their own personal gain. Great. Is it that? No, I think it's trying to be that, but it's also trying to be an analysis of Ted Kennedy as a person and trying to get you to sympathize with him. Even though he spends most of the movie doing selfish things, it keeps trying to justify those selfish actions, or at least explain them, if not justify them. The legacy all of his brothers left behind was so great. He feels such an immense pressure to live up to the standards that his brothers set. He wants to be great like them, and he feels like he can never really achieve that, and so that's why he wants to become president so badly, and that's why he does the selfish things he does. But the movie's also judging him on those selfish things that it's trying to justify. You see what I'm getting at here? I don't think the movie knows whether it wants the audience to like Ted Kennedy or not. At the very end of the movie, and this isn't a spoiler because, like, this actually happened, it shows real interview footage of people on the streets being asked if they would vote for Ted Kennedy again. Most of them say yes. And I didn't know how I was supposed to feel about that. And I don't think that was intentional. I don't think it deliberately wanted its audience to be conflicted. And if it did, then I feel like it did it in the wrong way. I think maybe some audience members might be conflicted in the right way, like they can't pick a side. And I find that interesting when movies do that. But I personally didn't care which side I was on because I really didn't like Ted Kennedy as a character. Jason Clarke has been getting a lot of praise for his performance. I disagree. I thought he was very boring. He showed very little emotion. I never felt immersed with his character. Also, Jason Clarke is an Australian actor, and his accent keeps slipping in throughout the movie. It's very obvious that he's not American, and it's distracting. The other actors are good, though. Ed Helms is good as Joe Gargan. Kate Mara doesn't have much of a presence in the movie, but she leaves quite an impact, because she plays Mary Jo Kopechne. She only has about 15 minutes of screen time, but she uses that screen time to the best to make Mary Jo Kopechne a very likable character so that when she dies, it really does hit you. Also, the actual scene where the crash happens is very well shot. The sound is really good. And I liked what this movie had to say about what Ted Kennedy, actually knew versus what he didn't know. I wasn't fond of his selfish actions because I couldn't figure out what it was trying to say, but the most fascinating part of this case to me was, did his actions accidentally cause the death of Mary Jo Kopechne? Because obviously the crash was an accident, but he immediately left the scene, and then it was later discovered that she might have suffocated, which would have indicated that she had been standing up, gasping for air for a long time, and then eventually ran out of air and died, in which case he might have been able to save her had he stayed and gone back down to get her. But we don't know whether he actually stayed and went back down to get her. I don't think he even knows, based on the way the movie's edited. Essentially, everything directly related to Mary Jo Kopechne and her death was fascinating. Everything that was meant to be an analysis of Ted Kennedy and his actions, I just didn't get. I just didn't think they achieved Ted Kennedy well in his own movie, and that is a problem. Chappaquiddick is a really well-made movie with some really fascinating ideas, but I think it's ultimately very flawed in what its message is actually trying to say. And so I'm gonna give it a 5. So, what did you think of Chappaquiddick if you saw it? Please let me know in the comments below. Click here to subscribe, and click here to watch our last video. Thank you guys so much for watching.